Hey everybody, I'm Sara Wiseman. Today I wanted to talk to you about channeling, specifically channeling in writing. Sometimes when people ask, well, what do you do? Are you a medium? Are you a healer? What's your thing? And I'm like, yeah, really, I'm a clairvoyant and I'm a spiritual teacher. And oh yeah, I'm a channel. That's actually the biggest psychic gift. Channeling is really, that's where my home is. And all of you guys have different psychic gifts. Some of you are incredible mediums or hands healers or whatever it is that you are, clairvoyants. But channeling is a really interesting gift because it uses language, and especially whether you're channeling in writing, which is where you're receiving and then you're writing it down, or if you're channeling in voice, where you're receiving and then it comes through your own voice. So you are speaking on behalf of one of the guides. It's really a gift that uses language, our language. So we're sort of translating the language of the guides into either our own writing, which is a way of using language, or our own voice, which is a way of using language. So it's a little bit different than the other gifts. I do find people that are good with writing or are good with speaking different languages, or are good with, people that have been in drama and so forth, they used to take on characters. This way of receiving and putting it into a language form tends to be really easy for lots of those kinds of people. It doesn't mean if you aren't good with language, you're going to have trouble. It's just that it seems to be really natural for people that already have some kind of language affinity, I guess we would say. And so I want to talk a little bit about this idea of channeled writing. And, we can channel from the guides, but we can also channel from objects, everyday objects in our lives. We can channel from anything in nature. All nature, nature is basically a bunch of entities that are also guides. And so we can channel from all of those vibrational, dimensional beings. Of course, we can channel from guides, and we can use channel writing as our method. For some of you, I'm not teaching this particularly, but you can use channeling in voice if you like. Some of the people that do this, you probably have heard of as Esther Hicks, Seth, Cryon. Those might be just a couple that have been around for a long time, people that channel in voice. I am a channel in writing, and that's how it's worked for me. My technique is I go into a quiet space. I wait for the information to come, and then I write it down. For me, I'm receiving from the guides. In decades or centuries past, people who were spiritualists would receive from the departed, and they didn't have laptops then, so they would write by hand. And because when you have your eyes closed and you're writing, it's very hard to stay on a page. In the spiritualists of decades or centuries ago would write sometimes on strips of wallpaper that would keep unrolling as they were going, so they wouldn't have to keep reorienting themselves as to where they were on the page with handwriting. Some people do nowadays still channel with journals. I think that's great. I just prefer, for me, the languaging comes so quickly. I just let it go. I just type it, and that's much faster for me. So when we channel, we can receive two levels of information. We can receive, and one's not better than the other. They're just different. We can receive a level of information that is based about what we need to know, specific guidance for us. So we can receive information about our life, relationships, romance, our work, life's calling, next step, our healing, our body, or whatever it is that's going on with you in this lifetime right now that you want to know about. You can receive that in channeled writing. You can also receive spiritual teachings, as that's been one of the main things that I've done. And so then we can learn how to understand our spirituality in general in terms of ideas about consciousness or energetic healing or vibration or energy, time and space, and really what it means to exist as a soul in this lifetime, and what is that big picture and so forth. Um, the other thing to pay attention to is that channeling is really unique. It has a certain way it feels in the body. It has a certain way it sounds in your mind's ear. It has a different voice than your own mental mind voice. You may receive from different guides. Some of you may receive from the departed still also. And the idea that for many of you, if you can ask the personal questions, or if you're choosing to channel spiritual teachings, to understand that you are receiving a kind of sacred text that is part of the bigger sacred essence of consciousness. It's almost like we're adding to Akashic records when we're writing this kind of spiritual receiving of spiritual lessons. If you're interested in this, really, it's something pretty much anyone can learn. If you're good with languages and writing, you probably have an easier time with it, but it's certainly not limited to people with those affinities. You can find out more. I offer a course in this, and you can find out more at sarawiseman.com. Thanks for listening.